Let's get behind the Mortis. I'm John Capers, the producer for Mortis Maledictum.
And I'm Devin McCamey, author and director. In this show, we give you an exclusive look at the lore, inspiration, and making of our show.
Today, we're going to take a look inside Episode 8, Harrowed Obsession. Now, joining us today, we have one of our most esteemed patrons and supporters and biggest fans of the show, Serial Designation O. Say hi, Om.
Hi. This is great.
We're really glad we got you onto the show. So let's start talking about what you thought about the family of pestilence that we ran into in Harrowed Obsession.
Yes, do tell.
They're evil. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely one of their shining moments.
For a little more detail, I love that they each do different things. They're not just, hey, we're evil, yay. There's Antonio does he's the doctor man.
He
makes the chemicals and has the creepy aesthetic with his clothing.
That's him.
I think of him as the Diablo 2 looking guy.
Elias, the mortician, who's taking the people apart and looking for the little gold bead thingies. And then we have Laura, who is just psychology person. Which the way I just said that sounds so boring, but I didn't mean it like that. I want to say she doesn't get enough screen time in this chapter.
That is true.
I guess it'd be word time, but this isn't a movie.
Yeah, that is true, though. She does not get as much screen time in this one as she does in a spoiler alert chapter, The Hunting Call from Act 2. She may or may not make a little bit of an appearance there.
No spoilers, man. We didn't get there yet.
I'm real bad at spoiling in this show. This Behind the Mortis is like, all right, the whole thing's coming out. All the lore nuggets.
There's some mystery. That's what the Mortis lore channel, the Discord's for.
That's true.
Which you can join for free.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
That's free.
Yeah, join the Discord and get to talk about all the little lore nuggets you found.
Yes. And come meet Om.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Forget us. It's Om that you need to come for.
100% Om all the time. So then, with those protagonists kind of being, I guess, portrayed in a positive light at first, but we know them very much as a bad guy. What was the point in which you realized, oh man, these three are not actually good people? And what did you think of that?
Well, when I was reading it, I didn't read it first. When I was listening to it the first time, it was obvious they were like at least gray. They weren't supposed to be good guys because the society did not like them very much.
Yeah.
The way they were described and all of that. I think it really hit though when we got to is this supposed to be First or Second World War?
This is the First World War.
They pop up.
First
and they
chlorine
pop up
attack.
for that. It's like, oh, okay. We're all the way over there. They're all the way evil.
Yes, absolutely. They went underground, as it were, metaphorically and physically. They went underground and they tried to figure out what it was that was making the plague happen, and just delving into it as long as they did, just slowly their humanity seeped away and they were left with something else. And when they popped out, they were not the same anymore, and they were no longer human.
Yep. Not gonna find the source of it, though, because it's back over in, China or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, at this point, Linhart's long back in his tower, or moving around, because another slight spoiler alert, he's the Malice Bastion at this point. He held that mantle for a long time. Slight lore nugget here. He was in Quinn's reality, he was the longest running mantle bearer of the Malice Bastion in existence in history. No one held it as long as Linhart did. which is crazy considering he used to be immortal.
Indeed. That's an actually really interesting point, because when you think about that whole mortals versus gods, right? So when we talked about, like, during Insults and Power, we talked about how, you know, there's this power struggle, right? And a lot of gods were having these kind of mixed feelings about how much power they wanted to have, because of that fear of having to bear the mantle of the Malus Bastion, because inevitably if you bear it, you die, right?
Yep.
And then you look into Rotted Crown and you are following Lenhart, and as he ultimately, you know, so he of course gets the Rotted Crown, a bunch of really cool things happen, and ultimately becomes the bearer of the mantle. And now we're looking at somebody who is a mortal carrying this mantle, though not entirely organically, right? The crown helped, having some power, right? Helped.
You don't say.
Just a little bit.
Just a little, right? But
only 10%.
yeah, just a 10% help. The rest of it was just his huge brass balls
and shining personality.
Yep. But through that power, right, he was accomplishing a lot, I think. And I think that a lot of the effects of his power was really bleeding over into the tale that we see here in Harrowed Obsession, right?
It absolutely is, because without Lenhart marching across trying to get back to his family in the Rotted Crown, you wouldn't have had the Black Death first show up, and that becomes obviously the backdrop in Harrowed Obsession, because it's like, hey, this is still going on hundreds of years later. There still has these outcroppings of bubonic plague that somehow show up time and time again, and this family, unbeknownst to each other, are all working on the same problem until Laura brings them together. But that problem only exists because Lenhart decided to steal a crown from the basement floor of a tower a couple hundred years before. And with that, the kind of cosmic energy and power imbued in that crown also imbued itself into some of the people that, you know, caught the bubonic plague, which is where the beads come from. It's kind of like just a distilled corruption.
Okay. I was just wanting to ask about those. Why are they there? They kind of just come up and then they go away.
Yes, so they're one of the things that the family kind of latches onto as like, what are these things? I'm going to go try to research it and figure it out. But obviously, them being mortals, they don't know where they're really coming from, and they make some conclusions. They draw some conclusions that aren't 100% accurate because they have incomplete data. But here on the Behind the Mortis, we get to kind of pull back that curtain and cheat, and I can just tell you, and it's great. And it's essentially the people that had these beads in them were ones that were particularly strong and were sustaining themselves as best they can, like better than most people can. If you've survived enough of length of time while having the plague and somehow not succumb to it, your body has absorbed enough of this plague that it kind of tries to all put it in one place and kind of isolate it from the rest of your body as a way of a defense mechanism. Well, these gold beads are essentially the supernatural equivalent of kind of isolating this power, right? And the power has just been seeping out through plague carriers the whole time for hundreds of years since Lenhart released it from the tower. And so when the family of pestilence latches onto it, they're like, what is this? What is this? But of course, every time they touch one, what are they doing? They're absorbing it, absorbing pieces of the power, and that power is not for mortal minds or mortal hands. It's the same thing that happens with Duchess Anna and the Bone Duchess. You touch this stuff, and it is like kryptonite to Superman. It is bad news for you. It will change you. But because they were touching only tiny
they seem to be
pieces,
doing pretty fine.
yeah, until he comes in contact with kryptonite. Yeah, that's the thing, is until he comes in contact with kryptonite. And in this case, they're going and looking for kryptonite, and they're taking it apart, and they're conducting experiments on it, trying to figure out what's going on. And instead, they're corrupting themselves and becoming less and less human because they're not built to handle it the way that more cosmic, immortal beings are. The only reason Lenhart can is because he just doesn't care anymore. After he found his family dead, he was just like, just end it. And the crown's like, no, you're the king of the undead, essentially. Ending it is not your purpose. Your purpose is to keep going and to keep going forever. And so the crown is propping him up where everyone else would have easily succumbed to other effects and side effects of it. He's just the bearer of the crown, and that's different. And that kind of jumps ahead. Yeah, death is illegal, especially to Linhart. He's not allowed to die until, the Mortis finally catches up to him.
Right, and you bring up an interesting point there as you talk about not necessarily Mortis bringing this corruption into the reality, right? What you're talking about with the crown and its desires and the power that seeps through Linhart and through the people that contracted the plague and the creation of these beads that then Antonio, Elias, and Laura are dissecting, right? All of that is kind of a homegrown corruption to this reality, right? And is more of a, I guess, their reality's attempt at creating something that might be strong enough to defend it from the Mortis, rather than this being the Mortis seeping into their reality and these corrupted things being a byproduct of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is very much homegrown horror in the vein of, we need to make the biggest, baddest, meanest monster we possibly can, so we can throw a mantle on it, give it a Malus Bastion, and hope that it keeps the Mortis out.
What horrible bastions they would be.
Oh, isn't it great?
Can you imagine
Unlike
the mantle on
the first one?
Right. Like let's give Laura the Malus Bastion, see what she does with it. Oh God, what would happen then?
Even just from this chapter, she goes and eats the poor German souls.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. She's the scariest. She's the scariest of the three by a long shot.
Yeah,
and she wants to be
looking in the artwork.
Yep, absolutely. That's another piece of it too. Is the gold bead? I was trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to show off that there was something supernatural going on in these bodies that Antonio and Elias are looking at, and Brandon had done the artwork for this piece in 3 different panels, and I'm like, this is great. Why do 2 of them have these weird objects? One's glowing green, little slime covered thing. Another one's like this golden orb. I'm like, how can I incorporate this into, and can we put one on the third one? And he was like, sure, I can do that in like 2 seconds. So then he put one on the third one. I was like, aha, we have success. This is the thing that I will put into the story.
We have the success.
Exactly. So what other questions did you have that were like tickling your brainstem that you wanted to know about this story?
Well, I want to ask about, we're going to kind of skipping all the way to the end, because the beginning of the chapter is kind of like preamble, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. It's introductory.
Nothing on you.
Yeah. No, it's I don't take that.
And
I don't
then
take
we
that
get
badly.
Then we get to like, okay, they've been waiting, and now they came out, and then they're doing their chemical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they reveal themselves. Mortician Man just walks across like, whatever. We have Elias having a staff come to him from somewhere and then make a glob of something. What was that stuff?
Right, so
where'd the staff come from?
Absolutely great question. And so at this point, he is so far divorced from humanity, and he has learned so many dark arts and supernatural things during his experiments in underground and in the earth, that he has developed the ability to call to him things that are imbued with the same corruption that he is. He's basically saying like, hey, part of me is over there. In reality, is it part of him? No, it's not. But because he's been so far corrupted, he can channel that corruption. So it's almost like magnetic. So anything else that he has done with the beads, like make a staff out of them, he can call to it.
I was going to ask, I was going to ask if they melted the beads down or not.
Absolutely did. They 1000% melted those beads down, and Elias put them in his staff.
Great.
And of course, they made a whole bunch of other experiments with them and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm. So is the goopy stuff just like pure corruption then?
Yes, it's kind of it's not just corruption. It's like leftover residue from a million experiments, mostly on living things, because he's an evil dude.
Uh-huh. And then Laura's like, not just that side. You guys too. Opens thing and throws it at them. You get the gas too. Haha.
Yep. She's
everything will be afraid.
Yep. She says, I need this experiment to be 100%. Let's check both sides. See if there's one difference between this side and the other side. Oh, nope. They both died the same way. That's sad. No control group today.
No control group. You had a control group and you ruined it.
Yeah, she ruined it. She's on no one's side but her own. Just when they come back in Act 2, yeah, absolutely, they're looking after each other, and that's all they're doing. And when they come back in Act 2, they're still up to their old hijinks, but they are still also looking after each other.
Because family.
Yeah. Of pestilence in this case. Oh, they're evil to be evil at that point. What else do you got for us? Any other questions?
So they were underground for like 600 years, right?
Yeah.
How much money did that cost them? That must have been expensive.
Great question. Hadn't ever thought of an answer for that one, so let's think of one right now and make it canon. They went underground. They didn't have any money. They were living off corruption and eating the corruption itself to sustain them, and then just pure hatred and obsession is what drove them to not die. They popped up for experiments every now and then.
Electric lights?
They would pop up now and again and look around and say, ooh, I really like that. That looks like indoor plumbing. Or, hey, this is really cool. Electricity. That would make my experiments run faster. And this hot dog thing is really cool.
Like put that in them and then into their base themselves, or would they order someone to do it and then kill them?
So they are very cunning, right? They love disguises. So I would think they would definitely do it that way. They would trick someone into helping them, and then make them a part of the great experiment after that.
So they are connected to the grid that everybody else is then, because that's probably how the plumber would have did it, or the electrician.
Yep, and
which means they would have been. They would be getting bills.
Yeah, or maybe the electrician's like, where's all this coming from? I'm not running at 100%.
Laura just looking at this piece of paper. What do you mean? I owe you money.
Yeah, Jedi mind tricks from Laura. That's great. No, they pop up every now and then to trick some other poor sap into helping them for something, and then keep doing it on repeat forever.
I feel like asking Brandon for just having Laura holding a bill and be like, "What is this?" That's just too funny now that I have that in my head.
Yeah, it's done. It's locked in there now.
How deep underground would it be, do you think?
That's a good question as well. They had to go deep enough that their experiments wouldn't be detected by anything that was of a 1920s, early 1920s technological ability to reach and detect them. So, honestly, not very deep at that point. You know, you go down 100 feet, 200 feet, and then suddenly you're at some bedrock level, and nobody else can really penetrate that at that point. Not easily and not commonly.
It would have been in a town, though, right?
Yeah, it would be. Whereas nobody's looking in the ground there.
Stuff.
Somewhat, but if you go down a couple hundred feet in the 1920s, it'd be fine.
Yeah, probably.
You can get away from most of it.
All right, well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. So just as a reminder, this show is listener-supported through our Patreon, and as a thank you, our supporters can listen to our new exclusive storyline, Four Corners, which comes out every month. Now, Ohm, you are one of our top tier patrons, and we genuinely thank you and really, truly appreciate your support. You don't know how much it means to us, how it enables us to make the show.
Stop.
And no, it's true. I'm not just saying it. Like it's critical, and we love how active you are in the community with many of our other members. So a thank you to that. And now I know that you've been following our Four Corners series. So would you be willing to talk about that for a minute? What you've been taking away from that?
So, I love that Devin, because he's a writer, is adding in the patron-created monsters, like mine, the Carabus, and Hecamit's. What was that one?
It was the Chameleus, or Chameleus.
Yes. I love the Chameleus. It is so interesting.
Yeah, she designed a really cool one. So did you. I love the fact that you gave me this crazy monster, and we essentially turned into a really evil temple guard dog type of thing.
Yes.
It was perfect for it, and I appreciate that.
It was a very creative concept as well. I'm actually kind of curious where you drew your inspiration for that monster.
Yeah, you got to answer questions in here too.
I got him.
Oh, fine. We're making the outro longer, but fine. It was partly just there's not enough Earth fear stuff. Like, the only time I've actually thought about that is the Magnus Archives. That's what it was. The Magnus Archives was the first time I actually thought about, like, oh yeah, getting buried alive would be not fun.
Yeah, it'd be terrifying and horrible.
Claustrophobia stuff. Because the thing I gave you, the idea was, yes, it's a creature made out of dirt. Okay, sure. It was supposed to be purely dirt, and then it goes into this cave, which is another thing that the Magnus Archives attributes to the the Earth fear stuff, because it's like claustrophobia. In a cave, you don't know where you are.
Yeah, they do a really good job with those.
That's what that was supposed to be. And then you made it go into into Everest of another place, which was neat. Okay then, sure.
Yep, which is where it was definitely not made for, was not expecting to be, or any of those things, right? And it was very out of its element. And then it got stepped on.
And then it went squish.
Yup. By a completely different monster in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm really glad that you're liking the Four Corners storyline so far. I have it all plotted out, and John and I have run circles around it and trying to poke holes in it and making sure it's the strongest story we can put together for everybody. And I really hope you enjoy it as it unfolds. Mm-hmm. There are some things coming. Oh man, it's coming.
I just can't wait for you to hear them.
like I'm not even.
I'll have to catch up.
I'm not even like switched on, like trying to like sell anyone on this or anything. Like I am genuinely like, I'm making this story for you. I'm making this story for Heckman. I'm making this story for Bob and everybody. But I'm also making the story for Gorath, who's the voice behind Carver Wallace and the storyteller for that. And I want to surprise the crap out of him when he gets to it, right? So he has not been able to read ahead either. And so
no, we keep him in the dark.
Yes. So his acting is genuine, and he doesn't actually know what's about to happen before he gets to it. And every single time we send him a chapter, he sends us messages afterwards, and he's like, "What in the hell, Devin? What the heck? Oh my God, I can't believe poor Carver Wallace. Why would you do this?" And all kinds of stuff, all the time.
If this is happening, does that mean? And we're like, yes, in due time, Gorath, you shall know.
Like, yes, you're getting there. You're getting there. And we'll like drop an episode, and then someone like you or Hecamet or someone will say like, "Oh, is this other thing?" And we're like, yeah.
You can't say anything about that.
Yeah, I'm like, spoilers. And it's just so great kind of seeing y'all discover exactly what's happening. And when it sinks in what is actually happening, I cannot wait to see what y'all's reactions are. So
It's going to be one of the best twists that we've put
Is
together,
there
I
going to
think.
be a Behind the Mortis for the Four Corners?
there will
yes.
indeed. We've already got it planned out. We're going to be doing the Behind the Mortis for that as well. So we'll be putting those out following each
Are
episode
those going
as
to
they
be
come out.
patron exclusive?
Yes, so patron exclusive for the Four Corners series, as well as the Behind the Mortis for the Four Corners. Because otherwise, if you're getting the spoilers and can't read the stories, then
That's no fun.
it's no fun. It's all backwards.
So go support these wonderful people on Patreon.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Come on.
much. Thank you. So we like to thank all of our supporters, actually, like Serial Designation O, or Ohm here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, genuinely. We could not make this show without you. And Hecamit, Birdie, Celia, Houdini, Bob, and Trina as well.
And if you'd like to be a guest on this show, just like Serial Designation O here, we will be casting from our Discord community. So the link is down in the description. Come hit us up, get to know us, come chat with Ohm, chat with us. And we love to talk about really anything under the sun. It doesn't all have to be Mortis. We have a lot going on there, and we're always excited to have new people join.
Thanks for getting behind the Mortis with us.
And don't get lost in the dark.